welcome back to another episode of the Contagious Culture Podcast. Look, this is recording two. This is the first time probably in my life as a creator, as an entrepreneur, that I got 40 minutes into the episode and I recognize that the mic was muted. And it's just part of the journey. It's part of the journey, but I'm so excited, so thankful for everyone that is here, that is listening, whether you are on the video or whether you're hearing the audio. Look, you just got to roll with the punches. I was not going to allow myself to just call it for the day. So I made a post about it. We created it into a story, and we're doing this thing again. And what we're going to be talking about today is, yes, the 11 questions that I believe every nonprofit leader and school leader should be asking themselves before it gives them the opportunity to grow. But here's the bigger lesson. Before we even get into the questions that we're going to be asking, before I'm going to be asking you, is when things don't go well, when the mic isn't working, when the people don't show up to the event, when the sound goes off during the middle of you getting ready to ask a donor for $1 million, when the presentation doesn't necessarily come out in the way that it needs to come out, or the team just isn't hitting the numbers, how do you continue to show up? Because how you show up when it doesn't go well, how you show up when the odds are stacked against you, how you show up will define if you are successful as a part of this journey or if you are settling for mediocrity. So let's get to it. When I first started my journey, leading organizations, building schools, this journey of thought leadership, this journey of impact, this journey of transformational leadership, what I thought that's changed so much over the years, I thought success meant growth. I thought success meant bigger teams. I thought success meant more money. I thought success meant more visibility. I thought success meant more programming and more things. But over time, and through trial and error, through experiences, through all of these different things, I realized, and I'm still realizing, that something so critical, something so important, growth without clarity creates burnout. It's not anything else. Growth without clarity creates burnout. It really does. If you're not clear on your mission, if you're not clear on your processes, if you're not clear on your systems, if you're not clear in the problems that you're solving, if you're not clear in what you do and how you're solving those problems, I truly believe that growth without clarity creates a sense of burnout. And every single nonprofit, every school, every movement, everything, in my opinion, started because someone cared enough about solving a specific problem that mattered. But somewhere along the way, the mission got noisy. Somewhere along the way, the paperwork, the policies, the politics, the pressure, the lack of engagement, the lack of success, the lack of resources, all of those things began to drown out the why that they got started. So today, what we're going to be talking about, I'm going to be asking you 11 questions. I'm going to take you through just an amazing episode, round 2. Okay. I'm going to take you through an amazing episode, but today I want to bring you back to that foundation. Ultimately, I want to bring you back to the foundation, because I think sometimes we can't move forward until we understand going backwards and what we did to be able to either get to this point or did not do that led us to this point. Okay. So we're going to go back. We're going to walk through 11 questions that every single nonprofit leader and every single person that is leading some type of mission-driven organization, whether it's a school, whether it's a nonprofit, whether it's a foundation, should be asking. So these aren't just questions that measure success, like we talked about earlier. These are questions that also measure your impact. These are questions that measure your organizational success. These are questions that measure your alignment. These are questions that leverage or measure your ability to be aligned and clear. Okay. So these are questions that are the foundational steps to your growth. And if you ask these questions, and I'm telling you, if you bear with me, and not bear with me, if you stay engaged for 45 minutes, I can guarantee I'm going to give you the framework. I'm going to give you all of the sauce. I'm going to give you direct experiences so that you can be able to set up yourself, set up your organization, and set up the people that you were called to serve in a very intentional way. Okay? A very intentional way. So there's four things that I'm going to promise. I'm going to help you clarify your mission. I'm going to help you measure what truly matters. I'm going to help you identify what's broken. And then number four, I'm going to help you reimagine what's possible. I can guarantee that. Those are four things that I can guarantee. All right. So this isn't a checklist. I don't want you to think that this is a checklist, but what this is a mirror. Because when we get a little overweight, we don't want to even look in the mirror anymore. When we are not feeling the best, or when we're not, when we're sick, we don't even want to address the mirror. Some of us don't even take showers and go to the bathroom when we're not feeling the best. And here's the reality. Here's the connection. That's what happens in business oftentimes. Because the weight of all of this pressure, the weight of policies and the weight of paperwork and the weight of deliverables and engagement and all of these different things allow us to not look at what we need to work on. The sickness in our businesses, the sickness within our organization, whether it's a sick culture, there's sick people or personnel that are toxic. There's sickness in regards to the lack of systems and how they're breaking down. There's a sickness in regards to how we're showing up on a day-to-day basis, or a sickness in our mentality and how we're approaching this work. All of those things are leading to us not looking in the mirror and having a real conversation with ourselves on, hey, we have to get together. So this is a mirror conversation. This isn't a checklist. And as I walk through each question, what I want you to do is I want you to write down your own answers in real time. That's what I want you to promise me. So in the comment section, if you're watching this live, or in the replay, I want you to just comment on the podcast or on the YouTube video, hey, I got it. I'm doing it. I'm writing this down. All right. So I don't want you to overthink it. And this is what I want you to promise me again. I want you to promise me that you're not going to first overthink it. You're actually going to do the work, and you're going to write down what's true, not what you wish was true. Because there's a lot of times where I've went to conferences and I've went to meetings and all of these different things, and I've framed it in the way of what I wanted it to be and not where I'm really at. And I can guarantee I will help you grow. I will help you have the answers by asking the right questions. I will help you think outside of the box that you're currently thinking in, but I can't do that if you're not being real with yourself, and I don't have your real problems that you're experiencing right now. So what I want you to do is that I want you to help me understand what you have going on right now, and then we're going to work through it together. Okay. So I want you to drop in the chat in one sentence, drop in the chat. What inspired you? What inspired you to lead your organization or your school? I want you to drop it in the chat. What inspired you to lead your organization or your school? Let's talk about it. And let's fill this space with purpose and intention before we dive into the 11 questions. One of the biggest challenges that I believe many entrepreneurs, many thought leaders, many mission-driven transformational leaders make is that we forget our why. We get boggled down with the what's, we get boggled down in a lot of the things that we're doing, and we forget the most important component, which is the foundational question: what is your why? So that leads us to question number one. Let's get to it, baby. I'm so excited. Again, if you are just joining us, I recorded this episode. I was 40 minutes in on live, and there were people coming on and people coming off. And I was like, what is going on? And what I recognized at 36 minutes and 53 seconds is that my mic was muted the whole time. But it's all good. We're back and we're back. So question number one is, why did I begin this work? Why did I begin this work? Because what I want you to understand is that every single thing begins with intention. Everything. This question, what it does is that it grounds you in your original why. Remember that? The original why this got started? Because over time, your what and the how may evolve. It's going to evolve. I hope it evolves for you, but your why should stay pure. It should stay true. So, what I want you to reflect on with your team is if your team or your board heard your why, would they be inspired to run with it or just nod and move on? Because recently I had a conversation with a friend of mine that runs a nonprofit organization, and I was asked just the privilege to be asked to be on a board of directors of a nonprofit that's doing some really neat things, some really cool things. And I simply asked, and this is one of the the newest questions that I'm asking, is what's in it for me? And it wasn't from an arrogant or an egotistic way. I promise. I asked it in the most humble way possible. And they looked back at me and they said, well, I've never been asked that question. And I said, I want to expound on it a little bit more. Why would I give my resources, my time, my talent, my treasure, my thought leadership, my advice, my skills to this organization if I can do the same thing with another organization? And then I can build relationships, I can network, I can do other things on the back end. I can have an opportunity to align that with what I'm trying to do, with my goals. How does this align with my goals? And at the time, they didn't have an answer. And sometimes, and that's what being true and authentic looks like, is that if in this moment, by this person not having an answer, that was the most powerful moment because it gives us an opportunity as leaders, as thought leaders, to be able to communicate back to that individual like, hey, when you're approaching donors, when you're approaching people and you're asking them to do things, we have to understand why. So, what I want you to understand in asking this question is I want you to write down the moment or the story that sparked your commitment. I want you to write down how often do you even share that story publicly with your staff, with your donors, with your teams? Because in this moment, I'm challenging this nonprofit founder, this nonprofit executive to prove to me why I should give my gift, why I should give my time, my talent, my treasure to this individual. And I want you to ask yourself that one question. People are not entitled to give to you, whether it's a donor, whether it's a volunteer, whether it's a board member, whether it's a someone on your newsletter. They are not entitled to open your newsletters. They are not entitled to come to your events. They are not entitled to give you money. So our why has to be so powerful. And that, my friend, is going to be the moment that helps people spark their own commitment, their own curiosity. If your why doesn't spark commitment, if your why doesn't spark curiosity, if your why doesn't align with that person, I can guarantee that is the reason why we're not getting donors. That is the reason that we're not engaging donors. That's the reason that we're not retaining volunteers, donors, team members, is because we're not clear in our why. And that leads us to question number two. What do people know you for? Whew. What do people know you for? So once we understand our why, and then once we've communicated, because what I would recommend you do is I want you to communicate that to your team. Communicate it to your team. What is our why as an organization? Do you know it? Do you know it? Many great movements, great change movements started with a why. And we're going to get into how we build that momentum later in this episode, I promise. But I want you to first start with asking the why. And then question number two is what do people know you for? Because what I want you to understand in this episode, in this conversation that we're having, and if you have any questions, put them in the comment section. Your brand is not your logo. Your brand is not your website. Your brand is not your logo on your t-shirt. It's not. Your brand is not your pamphlet. Your brand is not your business card. Your brand is your reputation. It's what people whisper when you're not in the room. Your brand is how you show up. Your brand is your processes. Your brand is your systems. Your brand, especially for schools and nonprofits, is the heartbeat of your culture. So right now, what I want you to do, just take a moment, and this would literally probably take 15 seconds. I want you to go onto your phone, and I want you to ask your team or go onto Teams, Teams meeting or Google Meets, whatever your CRM tool is, and I want you to Ask your team, what 3 words describe our organization? What 3 words describe our organization? And as you do that, I'm just gonna give you just some quick tips, something to think about for a second. When you hear the brand or the company Mercedes-Benz, what 3 words do you describe? Like, what would you use to describe that brand? When you hear the brand Rolls-Royce, whoo, what are the 3 words? I think of old man. It's the first thing that came to my mind. Old man, wealthy, expensive. Boom. When I think of Mercedes, I think sexy is the first word that came to my mind. I think luxury. And I think of smooth, like it's a smooth riding car. When you think of Apple, what do you think of? What are the first 3 words that come to your mind? I think cutting edge. I think innovative. I think exclusive. I still believe that Apple has branded themselves as an exclusive club as people. And that's just again me. When you think of McDonald's, what are the brands that you, or what are the words that you think of? I think of weird words like real estate. I think of French fries, and I think of nasty or unhealthy. Right. So when people think of your brand, when people see your logo, when people see your mission statement, when people hear that you're speaking at that event, when people see you walk into a room, when people hear about the things that you've done, when they see your newsletter, what do they think about? What do they feel? That, my friend, is your brand. When I come into your school, what do I feel when I walk into classrooms? When I come into your nonprofit organization, how am I greeted at the front door? Your brand is the reputation. Your brand is the experience that you are creating with people online, in person, and through everything that you do, whether it's your content, whether it's your sales copy, it's every single thing that you do. So, what do people know you for? If the words that your team is responding back to you, the activity I said is, hey, send your team a quick message or send some friends or some strangers or even tap into your customer base and ask them, hey, what are the 3 to 5 words that describe us as an organization? Look, if you are getting some words back and they do not align, if they do not align with what you want it to be, then it's time to realign. It's time to realign potentially our communication strategy. It's time to realign our marketing strategy. It's time to realign potentially our mission statement. It's time to realign maybe some team members. It's time to realign a lot of things. And what I talk about realignment is our processes, our personnel, and our systems are usually the 3 areas that are hurting brand. Because I think about that. It has nothing to do with just your logo, because you can have a terrible logo and a terrible website, and you can still create amazing experiences, and you are known for the best in something. Okay. Question number 3. Let's keep rolling. Question number 3. What is the problem that we are solving? And in my opinion, this is the foundational question that's going to lead a lot of the conversation that we're going to have today. What is the problem that we're solving? Nonprofits, schools, mission-driven organizations, not even businesses, exist to just provide services, people. Not successful businesses. When you think of the Apples, the Metas, when you think of these cutting-edge, innovative, successful companies, they're not just here to provide services. They exist to solve real problems. And if the problem isn't clear, then the mission drifts. And when the mission drifts, the challenges start to arise. And when the challenges start to arise, the success derails. And when the success derails, the finances are all over the place, and then the company fails. When the success derails, the company fails. I want you to define the core human problem, that you are solving. What is that? What is the core human problem that your organization solves? Not just the surface issue. I'm going to give you a quick example, real quick. If you are an organization, and I was having a conversation with a colleague of mine, literally, that I was explaining earlier, that has a nonprofit that tutors kids. It tutors kids. It doesn't sound like anything, right? That sounds like any Joe Blow business. Just, it sounds like everybody else. So what I had to explain to her is that you don't just tutor kids, you restore confidence in learners who've been told they cannot succeed academically or in school. Doesn't that just sound different? Doesn't that just sound a little bit different? You don't just teach people how to speak. You teach them how to leverage the power in their voice to transform audiences. Ooh, doesn't that sound a little bit better than just, hey, I run a public speaking company? Doesn't that sound a little bit better? Hey, I help people leverage their voice or leverage their skills and talents in the classroom to write published manuscripts so that they can be able to transform audiences around the world. That sounds a little bit different. What is the problem that you are solving? Because here's how you say it. Hey, my name is Kyle. I restore confidence in learners who've been told they can't succeed. Hey, how we do this is we have a high level um, cutting edge tutoring program and a framework that we use to be able to transform learners in the classroom, third grade to fifth grade. See, it sounds a little bit different. So what I want you to do is I want your problem statement to be first, and then the how and how you achieve that problem, put that on the back end. Put that on the back end. What problem are we solving? And I want you to use throughout this conversation, I want you to not just think about yourself. I want you to be able to collaborate with your team, collaborate with your potential donors, collaborate with your potential customers as well. I want you to think about it from this perspective right here, right here. If you were to reach out to your team right now, if you were to reach out to your team and ask your team, what problem are we solving? Do you believe that every single person on that team would send you the same thing? And if the answer is no, then there is a problem in that. So the first question that we have to communicate or we have to understand is, why do we begin this work? Like, why did we begin this work in the first place? Question number 2 is, what do people know you for? What do people know you for? That's question number 2. And then once we've understood those first 2 questions, because what do people know you for is your brand story. It has nothing to do with your logo. It has nothing to do with your website. It has nothing to do with your t-shirts and what you put out there. It has only to do with, what is your reputation? What are the experiences that describe and best communicate the experience that your organization represents and stands for? See, this is important. So I want you to think about the 3 words that describe your organization right now. Well, remember, we are focusing on what is true, not what we want to be true. What are the 3 words that describe your organization? Take it a step further. What are the 3 words that describe your leadership? And if you were to ask your team or reach out to your colleagues or reach out to your customers, would they give you those same 3 words? Now, question number 3, what is the problem that we're solving? Nonprofits, companies, successful companies, or successful schools do not exist to just solve or provide services. They exist to solve problems. So if the problem isn't clear, then your mission drifts. And the mission drifts, success fades, the business declines. All right? So question number 4. Who are we solving this problem for? Remember this, every single mission loses its power when it tries to serve everyone. If you were trying to serve everyone, you're probably not serving anyone like effectively. Your clarity of audience determines your clarity of strategy. And I'm going to give you a quick example. When I ran the Writer's Game, successful publishing company that I built, and this was a few years ago, where we positioned it and just changed up the model of the business model. And what I recognize with authors is that the first conversation that we would have is, what are your goals? What are your impact related goals? What are your income related goals? And from the goal perspective is like, well, what problem is your book solving? Similar work. It's all, again, this stuff is transferable, people. Similar work. What is the problem that your book is solving? Okay, well, who is struggling with that problem the most? Because yes, your book may be applicable or digestible by all people, but once we focus on writing that book or telling that story or positioning that sales copy or communicating something in a way that speaks to a direct person, I can guarantee the level of engagement and the level of reach and the level of impact will exponentially increase. So what I want you to think about is, yes, what is the problem that you are solving? But here's a quick hack to be able to best answer this question. Question number 4, who are we solving this problem for? When you think about the problem that your organization is solving, when you think about the question, or excuse me, the problem that your organization is solving, when you think about it, who is struggling with that problem the most? Who is struggling with that problem the most? When you think about the problem that your organization is solving, who is struggling with that problem the most? Is it that 6th grade student or 6th to 8th grade student? Is it a family from a specific place? What behaviors, what things are they experiencing? And here's how you understand more about your audience that you're solving. First, we have to understand our demographic information, people. We have to first understand demographic information. That's number one. So, how old, married, all of those different things. Number two is what are they experiencing from a pain point standpoint? Number three, goals, aspirations. What do they want? Then number four is what are the frequently asked questions that they are asking? And then five, what are the objections? What are the objections that they potentially have from moving forward? So when we're thinking about who are we solving this problem for, your clarity of audience determines your clarity of strategy. So when you think about that, I want you to think about two questions to ask so that we can best understand the person that we are called to serve. Who are our primary beneficiaries in our organization? Who is benefiting primarily from the various things that we are offering as an organization? Who should you be serving but aren't reaching yet? Because what will happen, what I see happen when I work with nonprofits and schools, is that they write down an amazing problem statement like, hey, we're solving this problem. But based upon who they're reaching out to, based upon their marketing, based upon other factors, it doesn't necessarily align with the people that are struggling most with that problem. And schools are the worst at it. It's like your mission statement says you do this, but your population of students are completely different. And your mission statement doesn't align with the actions, with the curriculum, with the activities that are happening within your school. So we have to get back aligned. We have to get back to line. And that leads us to question number 5. How are we solving this problem? And here's the problem that I recognize even with this question. If you don't know the problem that you're solving and you don't have a clear focus on your who, then it's going to be challenging for you. And this is where I see a lot of nonprofit executives as well as school leaders make the mistake. But then there's a gap right here. We don't know how to solve the problem. So question number 5 is, how are we solving this problem? If we don't know the problem, then we can't be clear in our framework. If we don't know the who, then we can't be ensuring that this framework is unique to those types of people and where they are. So question number 5, again, how are we solving this problem? Look, this is your model. This is your framework. Like I continue to say, this is the method. This is the magic. This is your secret sauce. This is all of the things. This is ultimately the bridge between intention and impact. This is the bridge. So I want you to be able to outline your process. I want you to be able to outline the awareness. How are you even making people aware that there is a problem? How are you making people aware that there's a potential solution? How are you making people aware that, hey, you are here to solve that problem for these individuals? How are you making people aware of that? Then, how are you engaging with people? How are you the thought leader online? Or not even just online. How are you becoming a thought leader in your space and solving that specific problem for that specific population of people? How are you doing it? And then number 3, how are we showing our transformation? And this is, again, all under how are we solving this problem? We have to get clear. We have to get clear and we have to outline our process. And why this question is super important, because this allows us to showcase our uniqueness, our ability to be cutting edge, our ability to be unique in our awareness, our engagement, and as well as in our transformation. So how are you uniquely solving the problem for the specific person that problem is impacting negatively the most? How are we solving this problem? That's question number 5. Let's lead to question number 6. And again, this is all foundational. It builds, it builds, it builds. So the deeper that we go in the problem, the deeper that we can go in the who, and then the deeper that we can go in the how. So then that leads us to number 6. The 6th question is, what results have we achieved? Here it is in solving this problem. Remember, if we're not clear on the problem that we solve, then we can't even understand the importance of the data. See, data tells a story. Data, and not for vanity metrics, but for validation. Data is what I talk about all the time. If I'm talking to a donor, if I'm talking to even someone interviewing me, if I'm talking to anyone in this space that I'm trying to get to shift a behavior or take a specific action, if I have a call to action, then we have to be more clear in the data that we're communicating to people, because our data tells a story. So what results have we achieved in solving this problem? Your donors, your students, your staff, your community, your team members, they need proof. They want proof that what you're communicating that you do actually works for them. When I launched a publishing company years ago that I mentioned a little bit earlier, I can't go out here and try to raise or get people to close on $15,000 and $20,000 publishing deals if I've never written a book myself, if I can't showcase my analytics from as a published author, if I can't talk about the multitude of other people that I've been able to transform, if I can't talk about all of these things, hey, I can't go to a school or to a nonprofit organization and say, hey, pay me 50 to $100,000 to be able to come into your organization and go ensure that I'm getting success in capital campaigning, and I'm connecting you with corporations, and I'm connecting you with high net worth individuals if I haven't done it. If I can't say that I've raised 40, $50 million, if I can't do that, then it's going to be hard for me to be able to achieve the goal of being able to close additional schools and additional clients to be able to work with, to show them the way of how they approach fundraising, how they approach giving. If I don't have the track record of success, I can't be able to achieve my goal. So why this question is so important, what results have we achieved? What allows us to do is tell a story through our data. It allows us to tell a story through our data. So here's two questions. Again, two reflection activities or two reflective questions that I want you to consider. Number one, what are your top 3 measurable results in the last 3 months? What are your top 3 measurable results in the last 3 months? Now, expand that to 6 months, expand it to 9 months, expand it to 12 to 18 months if you have to. But I want you to write down and consider, what are those measurable results that you've achieved? And then when you think about all of these different results that you've written down, or all of these different results that you've achieved, I want you to then take it a step further and then ask yourself, which results am I not talking about enough? Because one of the things that I often talk about is that practically it's like you not doing something if you're not talking about it. If you're not sharing it, especially in this digital age, and we're a time period now in this generation where we're all fighting for the same eyeballs and attention and engagement on our posts, on our newsletters, on our campaigns, to show up at our events, all of these different things. If you're not talking about it, it's kind of like it's not happening. So that's why I show up every single day on the Contagious Culture Podcast, and I'm sharing case studies, I'm sharing messages, I'm sharing my experiences, I'm sharing different insights, I'm sharing advice to you so that you can see that I know what I'm talking about, one, but that I actually do this because we're all fighting for the same attention. Okay. And now question number 7. And now we're going to continue to go deeper in understanding that problem statement. All right. So question number 7 is, whose life or circumstance have we changed? Whose life or circumstance have we changed? Remember earlier when I gave the example of me raising money for an organization, or me helping authors publish books? So I talked about all these authors, hundreds of authors, and all of these different things. Hear me out. With this question number 7, why it's so important, whose life or circumstance have we changed? Why it's so important, because behind every single metric is a person. It's your story, their story is your mission in motion. Their story is your mission in motion. I want us to get out of this idea of group analytics. Like, oh, we are top 5 in the country in reading and analytics, or we are doing this, or our students graduate and go to these types of colleges, or our nonprofit organization does this for this group of students. Like, nah. What's more powerful is if you name one person. Name one person whose life has changed because of your work. I guarantee it, if you just follow my steps. If you follow my steps, you'll be more successful in your work. How do you tell that one story? How do you do it? How do you do it? In meetings, in marketing, in communication, outreach, on the news, and staff briefings, and conversations with donors, and building relationships. I want you to get comfortable with telling the one story of that one person, individual, because people connect with people, not this group analytics. Yeah, those are cute for your website. But when we're sharing intentional stories about one person, name that one person that you've transformed. Name that one student that couldn't read at grade level, but through your tutoring efforts, through your work, through the various donations that you received, through this program that you built, that one student that couldn't read, that came from a challenging environment, that student was bought in. And then through this transformative process, this unique cutting edge process that you took that student through, then on the back end, they became this. That, my friend, is the stories that we tell. It's not about group analytics and all of these different metrics. It's about that one case. So what are the people? Who are the people that you've transformed? And here's how we lead to question number 8. How did we change their life or their circumstances? How did we change their life and their circumstances? Because transformation isn't about what you gave them. Transformation is about what they gained. It's not about what you gave. It's about what they received, about what they gained. So when you describe how change happens, you reveal your secret sauce. And if you had challenges on the front end of the conversation that we're having today with understanding your process, I believe it was question 5. How are we solving this problem? If you had challenges there, then here's how you build it out. What specific behaviors, norms, systems, or mindsets did your organization shift to make that change happen? When you think about that one individual that your organization has transformed, when you think about that one person that your organization has changed, how did you do it? How did you do it? And here's how I want you to think about it. If that person was sitting in front of you right now, if that person was sitting in front of you right now and was like, sir or ma'am, how can I do this? And can you provide me the step-by-step process to being able to do this? What would you say? What would you contribute to that person? How would you say that you did it? Or how would you say that, hey, if you want to go from point A to point C, this is the steps that you need to take. These are the mindsets that you need to have. These are the systems that you need to implement. These are the relationships that you need to make. Whew, that gets us to our our process. Okay. So as a school, what makes you different? How are you doing different things cutting edge? What is your method? What is your secret sauce? As a nonprofit organization, as a mission-driven organization, how are you doing it? How are you transforming that one child, that one adult, that one leader, that one reader? Who are you transforming and how are you doing it? So question number 8, how did we change their life or their circumstances? Remember, transformation isn't about what you gave, baby. It's about what you've gained or what they've gained through working with you. When you can describe how change happens, now it allows you the ability to be able to communicate your secret sauce. All right, we have 3 more questions and then we're going to close out. We have 3 more questions. So why this is all important? Why this is all important? And before we even go to question 9, when you get clear on why you began this work, that sets the foundation. When you get clear on why we began this work, that sets the foundation. Then that allows us to understand, well, what do people know us for? That allows us to audit essentially our brand, audit our story. Then it leads into the deeper work. Like, okay, well, now that we know this is what we need to work on, what is the problem that we're solving? Is question number 3. What is the problem that we're solving? Then question number 4, we led with who are we solving this problem for? That allows us to understand the who that we're called to serve. Okay. And then question number 5 is, well, how are we solving this person? How are we solving this problem for this specific person? And then that leads us to question 6. Well, if we're solving this problem for this person, well, what results have we achieved in solving this problem? That data allows you to tell the story. Question number 7, whose life or circumstances have we changed? Whose life or circumstances have we changed? And then question number 8 is, how did we change them though? How did we change their life or their circumstance? And then that leads us to number 9. So now that we've understood the foundation, now we understand the problem, now we understand all of these various things, now that we've mapped out our story, now that we've mapped out everything that we've been able to achieve, question number 9 is, what's your vision? What's your vision? And again, if you've been with me since the beginning, this is the moment. This is the moment that I realized that I wasn't recording. So I was at moment 40 or I was at moment 37 minutes, 37, I think 36 minutes and 53 seconds. So we've made it to this point yet again for another time. So question number 9, what is your vision for the future? Because look, leaders don't just manage the present, baby. They create the future. When you think of the leaders, these cutting edge founders, these cutting edge trailblazers, the Steve Jobs, the Elon Musk, these cutting edge minds, they're not just thinking of the now, they're planning for and creating and implementing change for the future. So the clearer your vision, the stronger your magnet for people, partners, and purpose, I can guarantee that you'll be able to be stronger in your ability to communicate, clarify, and create the vision of the future. So here's two questions that I want you to consider. Number one is, what does success look like for the next, let's say, 3 to 5 years from now? What does success look like for the next 3 to 5 years? And again, if you have questions, if you have comments, put them in the chat section. If you have questions and comments, put them in the chat section. If you're watching the recording or hearing the episode for the first time on the audio version, tap in with the comment section below. All right. So what does your success look like for the next 3 years from now? Now, here's the build on question, right? Here's the second part of that question. How will you know? How will you know when your vision has become a reality? And this is a personal question that I continue to ask myself on a day-to-day basis. Like, oh, I want a successful business. I want to be able to be a successful entrepreneur. I want to do all of these different things. I want to create this type of success. I want to be able to achieve this type of thing. Great question, Dr. Whitfield. Great question. Are these questions in your book? These questions are not in my book. Now, a segment of these questions are in the book, but not all of them. I've been asked this question of, hey, how do we approach this work? How do we do this work? How do we need to achieve? So I'm building this out exclusively for this podcast episode, as well as we focus on the next rendition of my book that will be launching in January. All of these questions, Dr. Whitfield, will be in there. So that's a great question. Thank you for asking. So again, what is your vision for the future? One of the challenges that I continue to ask myself, again, like I was explaining earlier, is, well, what does that success look like? How will you know that your vision became a reality? Because yes, success is great, but success for me looks a little bit differently now. Success for me looks different from the perspective of, I want to go to my son's lunch every single week, potentially twice a week, because that's something that he wants to do. I want to be able to cut off work at a certain time. I want to be able to only have meetings on a certain day. It's not all about the financials that you want to be able to achieve. All right. So I know we're thinking leadership, and I made it personal, but that's what I want you to think about. What type of leader do you want to be? And what does success look like for you over the next 3 to 5 years? And how will you know as an organization, but then also a leader, that you achieve that success? How will you know? How will you know? That's what I want you to consider. All right, let's lead to question number 10, and then we're going to get to question 11, then we're going to shut it down. And then if y'all have any questions, please put them in the chat section. Question number 10. Now that we've understood the problem, now that we understood the why, now that we've understood all of these various aspects of our organization, of our school, and what we're working on doing, in my opinion, this is the most important question outside of what is the problem that you're solving. Because what is the problem that you're solving built a lot of the different frameworks for what we're doing. But this question, I can guarantee, is your most important question. And what this question allows you to do is be honest. It allows you to talk about what is true right now, not what is true in the future. Question number 10 is, what is currently broken? What is currently broken? Why I believe that this is the most important question is because this is where real growth happens. This is the beginning of real growth, transparency, being honest. If culture is broken, strategy won't fix it. If communication is broken, leadership can't scale. Remember that. I want you to be honest about what is not working and what you've been tolerating for way too long. In schools that I've managed, in schools that I've built, in organizations that we've done the audits and assessments for, what we've seen is we take them through these same questions, and we take them through, and they get real excited about this work, and then we get to this question, and then there's like, ooh, like there's a shift in the room, in the atmosphere. Like, what is broken? Now that we understand where we're going, now that we understand what we have, what is broken? Is it our communication between staff? Is it our processes internally or externally? Is it our marketing channels? Is it our cadence? Is it our systems that we're using? Do we need to implement a different CRM? Do we need to have a different strategy to communicating? Is it the collaboration amongst teams or cross collaboration between departments? What is currently broken? What is currently broken? And then what's one thing that you could stop doing this quarter? Not tomorrow, not next month, this quarter, beginning like right now, that would make everything else around you better. Maybe it's just implementing something small. And that's the question that I want you to think about and ask your team. What is a little change that we can make that can make a massive change within the organization, within a massive change within everything that we're doing? And I want you to be honest. Now, what I've recommended to leaders is before you just make this a public comment or, hey, what's broken and make this a team conversation, I want you as a leader to reflect on this first. And I want you to go through, hey, reflect on this. And here's a quick leadership hack. And I've talked to schools about this as well as organizations about this. What I want you to do is be reflective and introspective first. Ask yourself, hey, what is broken? What's going on? What needs to be fixed? Here's a quick leadership hack, though. Then share it with your team. Hey, I've been doing reflecting this week, y'all. This is what I believe we need to work on. This is what I believe we need to focus on. As a team, do you all mind putting these in priority based upon your experience of what we need to focus on first? And that would make the massive change. Now, why I believe this is important, because if you just asked other people what we need to work on and what's broken, they're going to have all of their various things. So then it's going to be challenging for us to focus on it. And then other people are going to feel like they were left out. And just again, in my experience, what I would recommend though, and why I believe this strategy has worked much, much more effectively is because it still allows people voice. It still allows them to see you as the person that's reflecting. It provides structure and order, and then it allows them to prioritize and show you what's most important in fixing moving forward. Then the follow-up for that is, hey, how can we collectively work together to ensure that these three top things are handled and effectively we're moving forward, there's systems in place so that we can increase this standard, or we can have this type of achievement, or we can improve in this specific area. Now we're able to put measurables, then we delegate, you identify who on your team is the team leader so that we can start focusing on that. Now we're focusing forward. Now we're moving the needle forward in what we're doing. Question number 11. Let's get to it. And then we're going to close out. Question number 11. Who do you need? Who do you need? Who do you need? I talk about this all the time on the Contagious Culture Podcast, that a book that I read years ago called Who Not How by Dan Sullivan. It truly transformed my way of thinking, because it's not about how do I do this anymore. It's not. It's about who is the person that I can partner with? Who is the person that can help me? Who is the person that knows this better than me? Who is the person that I can collaborate with? Who is the person that is just more intuitive in that area? Who can be on my board of directors? Who's my who? So question number 11 is, who do we need? Now that we've understood what's broken, now that we understand our problems, now that we understand all of these different things, who do we need? No mission is sustainable without the right people. Jim Collins says it all the time. You have to have the right people on the bus. You have to. 95% of your organizational success will come from people and personnel. And if we can't get 95% of those people on the right seat, or on the bus, or in the right seat, that is probably the reason why you're not seeing the success that you desire to see. Sometimes what I've seen is that the biggest shift your organization needs is a shift at who's at the table. And that's probably the hardest shift to realize, but we know it. We know it. We know it. And the reality of it is, and we talk about this all the time in education, is the teacher deficit. And I'm going to talk about this in an article probably later next week, but I don't believe there's a teacher deficit. Yes, analytically, we see that, hey, not all teachers are in all classrooms, but I believe if we improve the leadership deficit, we'll improve the teacher deficit. There's no leaders. There's not enough leaders to be able to transform and lead these schools. And that's why there's not a lot of teachers that want to be a part of this effort. Who do you need? Who do you need? What do you need to add? What do you need to develop? Who do you need to release from your team to move the vision forward? What kind of person and values first and energy do you need more of on your team? And if you need somebody that can come in and do the assessment for you, reach out to us. Send me a DM. Shoot me an email. We'll do the assessment of your team. We'll do the assessment of your goals. We'll be able to identify that problem. We'll be able to identify your who's. Then we'll be able to tell your story more effectively. I want you to look back over your answers. I would be excited for everyone that actually took the time to write answers to the specific questions that I asked, or if you needed to go through the replay, I want you to circle the question that hit you the hardest. For me, it's always the who do you need? Who do you need? Who do you need? Who do you need? And I want you to circle the question that made you pause. I want you to circle the question that really made you pause, because That's your next leadership focus area. You can't fix what you can't face. You cannot fix what you can't face or what you won't face, and you cannot grow what you don't define. You can't. So these, yes, are 11 questions to help nonprofit executives, leaders in education be able to be more intentional and successful in their work. But ultimately, these 11 questions are the foundation. These 11 questions are the foundations for culture, for clarity, for impact, for success, period. That's what they are. So over the next week, over the next 2 weeks, over the next month, what I want you to do is I want you to share your reflections with your teams. I want you to even share your reflections with me or on the bottom of this episode. That's what I want. And what I want is I want you to start documenting the steps that you take and then the conversations that will follow that will begin to shape the next chapter of your organization. Hey, if this episode reminded you of why you started, I want you to hold on to it because contagious culture starts with contagious clarity. I want to thank you for showing up. I want to thank you for showing up as leaders, not just managers. I want to thank you for showing up as change makers, not just mediocre. I want to thank you for showing up as the educational leaders that are transforming the next generation of globally competitive students in the classroom, because the world doesn't need just more nonprofits. It needs more aligned ones. So let's keep building. Let's keep building an environment that changes lives. One of the questions that we always ask on the Contagious Culture podcast is, what type of culture are you spreading? Remember this: the energy you bring is the culture you create. Make yours worth catching. We will see you all next episode. Again, if you have any more questions, comment them, like, subscribe, and share this episode. We'll see you guys next time.